So you're in Detroit. Were you born and raised there?
No, no, I was actually born in New York, like kind of like upstate New York vibe, I guess. And then I moved to Detroit when I was like 5. My family's from Detroit and Cleveland.
Okay, all right.
Yep, yeah.
So
So
originally
pretty much
New York.
raised, yeah, raised in the Detroit area for sure. Like so, like my grandparents lived in Detroit, and my mom like would have me and my sister as much as possible, like kind of like vibing with some of the suburb schools.
Okay.
So we ended up kind of spending most of our lives like a little bit outside of Detroit.
Okay. All right. So has there ever been any thought to move to New York or go back to New York or anything like
Nah,
that?
nah.
No.
Yeah, no.
Detroit's
So I was born in like Poughkeepsie, New York. So that's like I guess like Albany
yeah.
area. So like that. Yeah, there's no connection for me there because
That's
it's
way
like I
up
mean it
there.
was yeah. It was there's no connection there. Like there's no family there. We were there because my dad's job, I believe, at the time. So
Okay.
yeah, there's no
Nothing
connection to New
there.
York other than yeah, none there for sure.
So what's the best before we get into some of the running stuff?
Yeah.
What's the best part of living in Detroit? Because I know there's a lot of people who hear a lot of things about Detroit on the
Oh,
news,
okay.
and you hear
Yeah.
a lot of different stories. And what's your take on living there? And what's the best part? And what are some maybe what are some of the negatives?
Well, I don't know. I think so I live outside of Detroit right now. I haven't lived in Detroit in a long time actually since I was like 24, 23 or 24 when I moved away for a bit. But I mean, Detroit's like to me, like my take on it, Alex, and I don't live there, but Detroit is definitely a place that has a lot of great history.
Mhm.
I mean, as we all know, like I mean, we want to think about some of the more earlier times, like not like more recent times, and kind of oh Detroit's so rough and this and that, but you think about like where the role that Detroit played in America, and like the industry in America, and just imagine, if that such a pillar of what America would look like from an industrial standpoint, then all of a sudden that just be kind of like taken away. Whether you talk about like the riots in the 60s, that we like the trade never really recovered from fully. That took a hit, but then also obviously the auto industry crashing. So it's kind of like it's been a city it's full of like fighters and people that are, you know, trying to make things work and take care of their families. It's a very Midwest, kind of gritty city.
Yeah.
So in downtimes and things when there's not many opportunities, you're gonna see people just making things work and trying their best to do things how they know how. Um, so yeah, there's gonna be in any city, there's gonna be areas and things like that are like struggling and making ends meet, whether we like how they do it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm not here to talk, choose to badmouth anybody that's like, that's on that other side. But right now, for sure, Detroit in the last several years has seen a huge like uptick in in population and business. And if you go downtown, like for my whole life, I'm 41. My whole life, I didn't see like a crane in the sky and like ever because like this it just kind of ceased to grow, like while Chicago was in the same lane for a bit, like back in the
Yeah.
day, like it
Yeah.
just Detroit just stopped building, so to go downtown and see new cranes every time I go down there is beautiful. So I can only imagine what it'll look like downtown, but then even when you start pushing into, because Detroit's a big city, so it's like not um population but land, like it takes a if you're downtown, it takes a hot minute to get out of the city limits of Detroit. Like a lot of the other cities we see are, like Boston, like you could throw a rock from no shade, but you could throw a rock from
Yeah.
one side of Boston to the other. But Detroit's a huge city, so like I just can't wait to see what in 5-10 years the outskirts of Detroit start to look like, as people start to come in for jobs, or there's more opportunity for the people that live here to work in places that would have them see like more of a future in that business or in business in general.
Yeah, I heard as of late some like rehab and some a little bit of a
Mhm.
boom going on in Detroit, which is
A lot of bit of a boom for real though.
yeah.
Like it's a lot of bit. Like it's beautiful actually. Like there's little areas that I used to go to when I was younger and that didn't look like much. Now you look and there's like new projects, new builds, new like renovations, new areas for families to walk around. Like back in the day, like when I was like 20 something, you went down there for not for trouble necessarily, but it was like just a couple things you go down there for. And when that was over, you out.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's like you legit like like great restaurants down there, hotels popping up that are beautiful. The running community is just thriving like crazy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with We Run 313,
No.
but they're a run club that started in like 2019. Two young black dudes, my friends at this point now, started this club, and it's just like this is wild. Actually, I think they're getting 600 to 800 people probably on a Tuesday to run two
What?
miles. So it's a vibe, bro. It's a vibe.
Wow, man, that's
Yeah,
incredible. Listen, I don't care what group you're running to get
yeah,
that many
yeah,
people,
yeah.
to get anywhere these days when
Yeah,
everyone's so
to get
busy and
anywhere,
everyone's
right?
got everything going on. Man,
Yeah.
that's incredible. Wow.
Yep, yep.
So, I wanna get into the running, a little bit.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so, you're very public about, what, running did to you and how running has, changed your life and, when it
Mhm.
comes to sobriety. Um, what does running give you that you thought maybe alcohol and drugs did give you?
Mm. Well, I don't so just for like my clarity on it, it's sobriety was 2017, early like January 2017. And then running didn't come until like May-ish of 2018.
Okay.
So alcohol or sobriety, and the choice to do that, and like once I got sober, I started like looking for ways to I just looked at myself in the mirror. Like I'm not trying to make it like poetic or nothing. Like I was looking for ways to establish myself. I like literally looked in the mirror and was just like, yo, like after like a week or two of being sober and kind of like starting to see a little more clearly, I'm like, yo, I don't even look good. Like I don't look good. I can't believe my friends and family didn't tell me I looked like this. I just didn't feel good. So I'm like, yo, what can I do? So I just started going to the gym and I had more energy and time on my hands after like going a couple weeks of just not drinking anything. So I'm like, all right,
Did something
well,
happen? Was there like an event? A lot of times when I talk to people who are, who went through something like this, they tell me
yeah.
there was just like a rock bottom event. They were like, that's it.
Uh,
They got up and they were like, that's it, I'm done. Was there an event or
yeah.
was it just kind of like you woke up one day and was like, yeah, man,
It was.
no.
I mean, I woke up a bunch of days and was like, nah, that was the thing. I woke up a bunch of days and was just like, this ain't it. And I started drinking. I was like I started drinking kind of, I guess, later than some people. Like some folks that struggle with addiction would be like, I started drinking when I was like 13, 14. I mean, I started drinking when I was 17, and that was like my senior year. And as soon as I like had that first drink, I was like, oh, like I'm like, I can see clearly. But really, it was just like, I was like, it helped me, I guess at the time, just not feel the things I was feeling.
Yeah.
But then from that point on, we was like me and alcohol was best friends. Like you know, we lived a life, um, and but it got to a point where like most alcoholics will say or addicts will say is like in the beginning it's fun, and there's like this middle point where it's just like you're kind of like trying to figure it out, and then like at the end it's just trash, and it's the fun has been gone, and you're just like chasing some like void and like whatever. But I think that like in the last few years of alcoholism, there was just many moments where I would just like try to stop for a bit, for maybe because I just didn't feel good, like like just my health. I just felt like I was dying slowly, type of vibe, or I just made a bad decision, and I was just like I knew that like I wasn't right or clear, so I would try to stop, and it would like last for, you know, I'd say like all right 2 weeks, and it would last for like 3 days. for like I'd say 1 month, and it would last for like 2 days. Or just 1 week, and it would last for 3 days or 4 days. Like I never, it just had such a hard time like setting it down. And rest in peace, like my best friend, like my basically like my brother. Every time that I like towards the end of my thing, every time I needed, like I would be like, I could tell him anything really. And I'd be like, bro, like, hey, I need to stop, whatever. He's, oh, bet, let's do it together. Like every time. And he claimed he didn't have a problem. He did. But he like, let's do it together. Like he was helping me. And so every time we try, like I always had somebody like accountability buddy, even though I would fail, dramatically. But he was always there to like, I guess, encourage me to try. And then so in 2017, I tried to do a dry January, and legit got like 4 days, and found myself like at his house at a party where, and I slept over, and everybody was asleep. All the people were asleep in the house. My kids was downstairs asleep with his kids, and like I woke up at like 2 in the morning after not drinking anything all night, and then like went in the cupboard and found some like vodka or something like that, and then like started drinking in the middle of the night. Like no one's awake. There is no reason to be drinking at this point. And then that was like the moment I just felt like the lowest. That was my rock bottom. That was like it was just felt pathetic and sad and sick and whatever. So then one day my mom had hit me up and asked me like, "Are you all right?" Like she just texted me like, cause she lives far. She's like, "How's my son?" And normally I would like, "Everything's fine, mom." Da, da, da. And I told her the truth. I said, not doing so great. I blamed it on, my wife at the time. But I was like, not doing so great. This marriage thing is, like I tried to like have a reason to not be good other than the alcohol. And she's like, well, go to a counselor or go to EAP. I always talk about this in length at length because I know people have jobs, and a lot of people have employee assistance programs that they don't know about that could be for mental health or addiction or anything, or family issues. So, people should tap into that. So she's like, hit up EAP and just see what they can do. So like I talked to the lady, she asked me on the phone to kind of like vet you to see what they're gonna do for you. And I told her the truth too. She said, how many drinks do you have a day typically? And I was like, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know, depending on what it is. And I told her the
Wow.
truth. And she was like, all right, cool. She wrote that down, and I complained about, my family situation, to kind of like buffer it. Like, but this is what I'm talking, this is what I need to talk about. So she got me to this lady, and I was still drinking at the time. She got me to this lady, and I walk in. Turns out she's a family counselor, but she's a substance abuse counselor. So then she asked me again, somewhere along this first conversation. She's like, and I didn't drink. This was on the 11th of January. I didn't drink. I stopped drinking that night before because like I didn't want to go in. I would drink in the morning normally too, but like I didn't want to drink that day because I didn't want to walk into her office smelling like alcohol because I didn't want that to be my problem, you know. So I
Mhm.
walk in, and then she's asking me questions. She said, "How much do you drink a day?" And I decided to tell her the truth. So it's like 3 times I kind of just like divulged what was happening. And she's like, "Okay, cool. I'm not saying you're an alcoholic or have any issues, but maybe you should try AA. I can send you with a person that comes here." And so I was decided to not drink from that 11th to like maybe the 14th to 15th.
Mhm.
Got to that weekend, didn't drink in 3 4 days, and it was the easiest 3 4 day spurt that I had gone in years without drinking.
Hmm.
And I was just like, all right. So I walk into the meeting, I see a bunch of white people like in their 40s and 50s or older. And I'm like, but outside it was like a nicer neighborhood or nicer area. There was like a Bentley outside, and like, a couple of Mercedes and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, this is not for me, bro. This ain't for me. So
Yeah.
I walk in, I'm like, I'll do it because there's a dude in here waiting on me that knows I'm coming. And then I get in there, and like all these people that don't look nothing like me, I know for sure they didn't grow up like me or have my issues, told my story in their own way as they shared around the room. And I'm like, oh, these are my people. So that was my story. Then that day I was like, I'm an alcoholic, because if they got the same feeling I have about this thing in
Yeah.
myself and the world, then I'm in the right spot. And ever since then, been sober.
Man, it's incredible. So, what was it that would you say you said that those couple days were the easiest days. Whereas
Mhm.
previously you said that you'd go for a couple days and then you'd relapse.
Yeah.
So what was different
Yeah.
about those days that you said there was the easiest days to not drink?
I mean, I was gonna say, I think I know it's because I the burden of like the lie, had been like kind of like taken off my shoulders, like the heaviness of like I told the truth, like, and the truth will set you free type vibe. Like it sounds silly, but it's just like I just felt lighter. Like I'm like, okay, like at least I've admitted that I have this issue. It's out there. It's open. So not the counselor won't see me if I drink, but my mom won't see me if I drink. The lady on the EAP phone line thingy, she not gonna see me if I drink. But for some reason, having told the truth in the open, it kind of like took the it made the fight a little easier for some reason. And I think that that's like a lot of the problem with like a lot of the things we do, like the things that we're struggling with, we normally just kind of we hold really tight and close to us. And but we give it so much power by not sharing it, by not like leaning on the people around us, for help. It'd be like running an ultra marathon without like crew, like you could do it, but it's just like exponentially more difficult. If you let people in the journey that you're going on, even by just telling them what you're going through, it just makes it feel like an easier thing to carry. I'm not sure if I could have gone, forever like that without jumping into AA and like learning more things about this thing and finding out, learning tools to combat it. I don't know if I could have stayed there forever. So that's not the solution. Is just telling people you're an alcoholic. But um, I think that was the burden was a little lifted.
It's so crazy to hear that. It's almost like the drinking was the issue, the demon,
Yeah, yeah,
but the thing that was weighing on you most was that it was kind of like this almost like secret
yeah,
that was
yeah,
this weight on you. And when you divulged that secret and let
yeah,
let it out, that was the release. That was the release,
yep.
and that was the weight off your shoulders, and that's what felt good. It's I think that's for a lot of people that are dealing with things, no matter what it is, whether it's substance abuse or something inside,
Yeah,
privately.
like even like a mental health in that sense, like it's just like holding all this in and acting like it's just like you're the only person in the world that's going through this is a weight that just keeps you still. Like I guess you could call it like momentum in a way. Like if you're able to lighten the load a little bit by just sharing some of it, like just hey, like this, I'm going through this, that's enough to get a little momentum. You may not be moving very fast or going anywhere in general, but you have a little momentum. So then like the next step is a little easier from like going from 0 to 60.
Yeah,
Like I think that's what we want to happen. We want some random like snap of a finger and then all of a sudden we're professional athletes or free from mental health issues or 10 years sober. Like we want the thing at the end instead of like what can I do at this moment that will get me kind of moving a little bit? Like, how can we get rolling a little bit? And
yeah.
sometimes that is literally just sharing the concept, whether it's a new business idea, sometimes that even like telling somebody like, hey, like letting that, like, I want to start a podcast, bro,
Yeah.
sometimes you may tell the wrong person, but sometimes you might hearing it out loud or someone saying like, oh, hey, bro, you should do it. That is the little tiny that's not going nowhere, but you've kind of like started the engine a little bit. And I think that's what people miss out on when they like try to handle and hold like all these ideas or issues to themselves.
Oh man, that's so that's so true, man. I'm so glad you said that. As you know, there are so many figures out there about men uh, committing suicide, and when you go back and you look at some of these situations, they were holding on to something, they were struggling something that they just
Yeah.
didn't want to share. They didn't want to share, maybe because there was some shame in sharing it, maybe there's some vulnerability in sharing it. But in so many of these instances, I talk to counselors. I've talked to counselors, different counselors about stuff like this for years. And they say that's one of the biggest thing is just letting it out. Let it
Mm,
be known that you're struggling with this thing and be open about it. For men especially, there's a lot of shame in that because it kind of shows weakness. Like you're something has control of you, whether it's drugs, alcohol, pornography, it doesn't matter. It's like
mm,
you got to now admit that this thing has a hold of you and you got to now be open about that and share that. But
mm.
that's the first step. That's the first
Yeah.
step in ownership is owning that you have a problem. And then that's the first step to healing. And it's funny you said, you know, you got to just keep moving forward. And we're going to get to this, but you know, at at the Western States race, when I was pacing this guy, my only thing was, he wanted to finish. And I remember, and we'll get deeper into this, but I would just said in my mind, I'm like, don't let him stop. Don't let him
Mhm.
stop. Like if we're gonna stop running, which the running was like a slow jog, I would
Yeah.
say, let's just keep walking. Let's
Yep.
just, like you just said, keep moving forward. This, even if it's a slow walk, it's a speed, and we're moving forward. We're moving forward. And he wanted to just stop on some occasions. And I'm like, no, 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 man. Let's just doesn't matter. We don't need to run, but we need to keep moving forward because we got time that we're up against here. Man, it was awesome that you said like just like keep one step in front of the other, keep moving forward. So when you let me say arrive to that meeting. There's a lot of people who would have saw what you saw and be like, yeah, no, I'm out. I'm out.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
um, what was it? What was it that you said? You know what? All right, these don't look like my people. I'm looking at what the cars parked out front, and then I'm going to walk in this room, and there's all these old white dudes. What was it that you said? Nah, I got to stay. I
Well,
got because a lot of people would have been like, no, I'm out. This is the wrong room for me. I need a room where the people look like me. A lot of people
yeah,
would have
yeah.
told the story in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I think it just all comes back to the sharing of the thing, you know? Like so l- luckily I felt like the embarrassment of I mean, no one would have cared probably, but the embarrassment of like I had told this lady, she told me that another guy she knew that she was waiting on me to. So I'm like, okay, like at least I got to go in here because this guy knows that I'm gonna be here. I'm not, if I never come back here again, at least I did that. So it's really just like that's how important it can be to have other people know and the accountability. I didn't know this guy. I didn't even know what he looked like before I walked in. He had to come to me to say like, hey, it's whatever. Um, but it's just that accountability. Like it's it in some way it's the more you're able to share, responsibly about what you're going through or what you're trying to get to, the more chances you have to cultivate community, whether that's two to three, four people or 1,000 or more. The more you're able to share like at least what the next thing is for you or what you're trying to get to or what you're trying to get rid of, that knowing that maybe those two other people know, it could just be enough for you to like use that little momentum you have to make the next decision. Just like you were out there with the dude, you know, saying like let's just walk, let's just whatever. Like you saying it doesn't make him do it. It's just the fact that if he knows that inherently, like let me
Hmm.
just keep moving. He understands like that concept because he's out there. He's done this before. So it's like, but you being there or him, the presence of you there, or him knowing that he's a little bit of accountability, like, all right, fine.
Yeah,
And even sometimes when you're out there alone and you know that your people are waiting at that next aid station for you, it's just
yeah,
like, okay, they're here, they know it, so I'll just, let me figure this out, because I don't want to just not show up. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So being able to like share more allows for like community to start like building around like that thing. It's a selfish endeavor, like when you think about how life works in general. Like you kind of have to do things sometimes with you in mind first, most of the time with you in mind first, in a positive way, because like you just have to position everything to go like, okay, how can I use this to get whatever I need? And oh, two people know about my journey. Well, I gotta show them I can do it, or I
Mhm.
gotta let them know that I'm still out here. So I think that's the vibe.
I want to ask you something about this that goes to accountability, what you're speaking about. A lot of men have these goals in mind and what they want to do, women
Yeah.
too, and for some reason they don't share it. And I'm a big proponent now. I went to this course, I learned about this. It's not wasn't my idea, but like when you want to do something, the guy running the course was like, declare it publicly to everyone in your circle.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and let them know. Don't like be like,
Mm.
oh, I got this little thing I'm trying to do. And I'm not going to tell anyone about it. I'm just going to get it done. No, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be open about it and share it and let everyone know because one, now you're putting it out there. And like you
Yeah.
said, you don't want to be like, well, I put it out there and now they're seeing me not do the thing or
Yeah.
do the work. But also, you might also recruit some help and you might recruit
Yeah.
some support. And that was something I used to do. I used to have these little things that I wanted to do, whether it was something physically like the gym or whatever, or at
Hmm.
one point start a business. But I was like, I don't want to tell anyone because if I don't do
Yeah.
it, no one's going to call
And
me out
yes.
on it. And if I
Right.
fail, no one will know. So it's no big deal. So I was trying to like do all this
Yeah.
stuff in the background in the shadows. But even when I first started going to the gym, one of the things that helped me the most was telling someone that I was going and having them meet me at the
Hmm.
gym because, like you said, you don't want to leave them hanging. So I'd
Right.
be like, all right, yo, we're going to be there tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. All right. Man, the alarm would go off at 6:45, and every thought in my mind was, I'm just gonna hit the snooze. I'm not gonna go. But then I was like, oh, he's probably already on. He's probably already on his way there.
No,
He
in
might
his
be
way.
there already
Yeah.
waiting for me.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yep.
So that
Yep.
accountability was, and like you said, that dude was in the meeting. You didn't even know what he looked like, but you knew he
Yeah.
was in there and he was waiting for you to show up. So when it comes to accountability, I think, man, I think that's like a huge part of being on this journey is to have someone that maybe whether it's an accountability partner or someone, right?
Hmm.
Like you got to have someone.
Yeah. 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 I think, and I guess you got to know who you are too. Like I think I'm also thinking about like in this world of like social media too, because that's like the world we play in at this point.
Yeah.
Is there's a I mean there is a lot of people like just like I'm gonna do blah blah, blah I'm gonna and then there's just it's the satisfaction of saying that they're gonna do it is enough sometimes. And I'm gonna start a business, blah 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 business, and then you never see nothing of it.
Yep.
There's you got to be careful of that trap too, or that thing too, where like the vibe of telling people the thing that you're doing is they're like, there's so much affirmation there, or so much, there's so many kudos there. That's like, sometimes you forget to like get on that journey. So if you're gonna share your goals, make sure whatever you get back, you use that for, like to get you there, as opposed to just like to make you feel good about that one post that you put up about you wanting to run all the majors in 10 days.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like but like, for me, like even when I first started running, I started running in 2018, and then by like 2019, I was like, before I ran my first marathon, I said I wanted to qualify for Boston, to run the Boston Marathon. And I said 2021, but then we had COVID, so I had to like kind of wait. But I said it out loud. Like I was like, I want to qualify for Boston. And that means I got to run faster than 3 hours, and 3 hours even at that time for my age. And I hadn't run a marathon yet, but I was clear about that. Like I hadn't run a marathon yet, so I'm gonna do my first one. It's gonna be the Detroit Free Press. I'm gonna run sub 3:15, or I'm gonna try to, so I can like train up for my next race. And I've always shared my goals. Like I've always, you know, I like the kudos up front. I like knowing that people know what I'm going for, and I like um showing that process along the way. And whether you have good days, bad days, you still are showing up, and that's motivating yourself, to keep it pushing, because people are kind of watching,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
rooting for you, or rooting against you. Either way, there's still energy given towards that thing. because sometimes we need more than just our energy. Like, I do believe that, like, the more energy you know, pointed in the same direction, good or bad, I guess, is definitely going to feed it. So it's like you just keep pushing, keep rolling, and then if you don't make it, then you just have to be mature enough to be like, "Yep, didn't make it on that one, but let's go back to it again." And a lot of people hold their goals real tight, and then they go do the thing, and then they go, "I hit my goal." I'm like, "All right, well." You just took the fun away from it because, like, yo, I don't even know what your goal was, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes you got to like put it out there, and you don't know who you're inspiring as well. Like that's what I had to learn along the way. Like, because I did get to my first Boston, and then I set a big goal for that particular Boston, even with the injury, and I just pushed through anyway, and had a terrible day. And I thought like the world was gonna, like, I thought people were gonna unfollow me and just like, oh, bro, whatever. But turns out that most people want to see you do well, and most people also want to see you do well in defeat, in failure. And I'm like, oh, people don't really care what I run. I care what I run, but people care how I do it and how I present the
Mm.
story, and if I'm real or not still. Because I was all real when everything was good, but like when it's bad, do you show up and be the same, real person? And I did that, and I'm like, okay, that's what people really want is transparency in all forms. Whether you set the goal, whether you fail about the goal, how you fail about the goal from the goal, and then how you gonna get back. So
Man, that's so that's so true. And when you look at how when you succeed, you're inspiring people. But like you
mhm.
said, when you fail, you own it and say, hey, whatever you got, whatever, like you're open about it and you're like, whatever, I'm going to run it back. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. That might inspire more people
Yeah,
because
for
the
sure.
people who are out there who are maybe like, I don't even know if I want to try this. What if I
Yeah.
fail? And then they see you like, hey,
Oh,
here,
he failed pretty decent.
yeah, he failed decent, and look,
Yeah.
he's coming back. He's trying to push through. So that can inspire a lot of people as well, because that's the biggest fear for most people,
Yeah, it's
right? It's
failure
like
from the
they
people.
go,
Yeah.
they try and they fail, and it's like, oh man, now I got to go on IG and post that I
Yeah.
didn't finish, or what it was. That was
Yeah.
really, it was hard for me when I didn't finish my Ironman, and I DNF'd last year. We had the video guy there, and the video guy was like, I was almost like ducking him because
Nah.
he sent me a text. He's like, "Yeah, we got to sit down and talk about this, and we got get it on video." And I'm like, man, I'm gonna get breakfast. My legs hurt. But finally he got me. He's like,
You're like,
we're gonna
bro.
sit down in the back of the hotel. There was like a little patio. We're gonna talk about what happened. You got to post this. You got to share this. And I was like, man, like it's embarrassing. And I'd done all the YouTube video series, part
Oh
one, part two,
man.
part three, with the music and the edits and the drones and all that
Oh.
about the build up to the Iron Man. And then I
Oh
didn't finish.
man.
And he's like, bro,
Man.
that's it. So in that moment, I realized, okay, it's all right. I made a big hoopla about it. And it was a big deal. And we turned it into a thing. And I didn't finish. But I want to let people know that that's okay. It's okay I
Mhm.
didn't finish. But here's the thing, and you just said something about it. When I decided a couple of months ago that I was going to go for another Ironman this year, at the end of this year, I didn't tell anyone about it. I registered quietly,
Mm.
and I didn't
Mhm.
tell anyone about it because in my mind I'm like, man, I don't want to tell anyone about it because what if I don't finish again? Like, what if I DNF again? And then I started talking to some people, and they're like,
Mm.
no, tell people you're going for it again because they
Mm.
need to see that you DNF'd and now you're going to try to run it back and you're going to try to go after it again. And you're not afraid. You might fail again, but your goal is to work even harder this time to not fail and let people see that because more people need to see that than you crossing
Yeah.
that finish line. More
Yeah.
people need to see the struggle and the fear of and so I did, I just I literally, I think it was yesterday, I put up my first story about like, training for, Ironman. And I got a lot of messages from people. People were like, "Oh man, you're going to do it this time. Man, this is
Mm.
awesome. Oh man, start sharing the training. The last time it was so inspiring to see your training." So I was like, "Oh, okay. All right, I got it." So there was that fear there again, 'cause, no one wants to publicly fail. And when you have a big following and you're a public figure. Not that I'm like some crazy public figure, but you know what I mean. Like then it's like
Hmm.
you got to put stuff out there, and there's a little bit of a concern around that. So I want to get to the running. You said you got into working out
Hmm.
at the gym as part of this, this transformation.
Yeah.
When did running come in? Like, did you run as a kid or in high school or
No,
when you were younger? Cross country,
no,
anything like
no.
that? Track?
No, none of that. Yeah, so it came gym first, and I was like, I poured all the energy and time that I had, and alcoholism and addiction and stuff like that is like just high level dedication, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, so how do I use this skill of dedication that I learned over, since I was 17, sticking to this no matter what. So I just I put that all into the gym, and I was going 6, 7 days a week, and I got pretty buff. And so my name on Instagram at the time was Tommie Guns with a Z. And then so I got invited though, because I was doing like a lot from the beginning. I was like lifting heavy, and I got kind of like bigger. And then towards the end of like the gym session for me, that's when like hit training was a big thing. And
Mhm.
so I started doing more hit training and like a lot more movement, and feeling more powerful and explosive and da 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 da. And then a dude that was in the industry that I used to work in, he had a company that was based out of Chicago, and he's like, "Hey, you're like super fit, like we were friends." He's like, "You're super fit. Come and run the rock and roll half marathon with us and raise some money for Move for Hunger." Who's they're a nonprofit that is in like the moving and relocation industry that raises a bunch of money and then collects a bunch of like non-perishables and feeds like millions of people a year. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I'll raise some money for them because I know them. And so I just started like air quotes like training
Mhm.
for a half marathon out of nowhere. So I like ran a couple 5Ks and was like trying to like get ready for that. But it was all like within like 2 months. Like it was like May to like I think June or July or something, like whenever the race was.
Mhm.
And I I trained for that. Like I hurt myself. Like I had a what's it called? A stress fracture in like my metatarsal in my foot. And so like I went to the doctor. She's like, "Hey, what do you I'm like, "Yeah, I'm training for this half marathon. It's like in 2 weeks." And I think there's something wrong with my foot. She's like, "Yeah, you have a stress fracture and you probably shouldn't, run the race." And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna run it. So like how do I what do you want me to do between now and then?" She's like, "Well, I mean, I can tell you not to, but um don't do anything, do as little as possible." So I just went on like the elliptical for like 2 weeks and then ran this race. Didn't do as well as I thought I was gonna do because I had no idea like what time looked like. But then like in this race, I just like it just felt so like foreign but amazing because so many people doing it, and it was just like such a vibe. And then I finished and I felt like so proud. I felt so proud of myself, even with being sober for a year at that, a little over a year at that point, or a year and a half almost. I just felt like incredibly proud of myself for doing something like that. And then took some time off of running after because my foot was like killing me at the end of the race. Um, then I took some time off, let that heal up, and then I just started kind of jogging and liking it. And I just started running more and more, and found some people like that were like a lady that was in my son's Cub Scout team or whatever, and she ran ultras. So we run, whenever like we lived not too far from each other. So we'd like run to each other and then run a little couple miles or whatever. And then I'd run home gas because she was an ultra marathoner and I like barely was doing it. And so like, but I just liked the process. So I stuck around with it. And then my cousin was like, "Yo, bro, you're not Tommy Guns no more. You Tommy Runs." And I was like, "Oh, let me look on Instagram real
Mm.
quick and see." I put an R on there. It said it was available. Took it. And then like ever since then, it's just like I just slowly switched into like running more and less gym. And then by like the middle of 2019 is when I was like, "Yeah, I want to qualify. I want to try to qualify for Boston," because I had run a 25K trail race in January in Michigan, cold.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
like that was, and so I was like, it was like some cold. It had snowed the day before, but it was fun. It was beautiful. It was less about pacing and stuff like that. Like, so it just like it was a cool entry point. Like, and I said this on a podcast the other day. Like, I knew who Jim Walmsley was because of her, like in her ultra like life.
Okay.
Like, I just was interested in ultra. Like, what's ultra? What's trail? You know. And so I
Yeah.
was like, I knew who Jim Walmsley was before like I knew who like Elliot Kipchoge was really because I wasn't
Oh,
even
isn't that
into road. I
crazy?
wasn't even into road yet. Yeah. So I knew about Western States like early, for me, like I was like looking at Western State stuff in 2000, 18 or 19. And then I got into road and then went down that whole rabbit hole. But as soon as I like really had done that race, my sister was like, you should try to qualify for Boston. She had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what that meant. But she looked it up. She was like, that means you'd have to run 3-hour marathons. That's an hour and 30 minutes per half. And you just ran this trail race at like an hour and 50 or something like that for the 25K. You could do it, because it's on road, not trail. I'm like, all right. So I trained, and then just the rest is kind of like history. And I just jumped into the thing, started sharing the story, started a couple podcasts here and there, and um, in Western States, I guess.
Man. So that's 2018, 2019. And
Hmm.
now fast forward. Uh Western States 100. For those
Hmm.
listening, most people will know the Western States 100 is arguably one of the most famous
Yeah.
and arguably one of the toughest 100-mile trail races globally. Definitely in the U.S., but maybe on a broader scale as well. And we
Yeah.
have races overseas like UTMB and things like that.
Yep.
Um, at what point in your journey did you, let's say, okay, now did the road running thing, and I know you had
Yeah.
this connection to this woman who was in ultra running. At what point did you say, all right, now I want to start looking at races like this? Because when you say to most people, I want to run a half marathon or I want to run a marathon,
Mm.
they know it. People know marathon. They know what that is. Most people even know how far a marathon is, and they know someone who's done a half
Mm.
or a full. When you start talking about ultra running,
Mhm.
people start looking at you sideways. They're like, "Wait a second, 100 miles or 100K?"
How many days
They're like, "Yeah, like you got a week for that?" Like we're like, and
do
then when
you
you start
sleep?
telling them, "No, I got like 30 hours," or really to get the buckle, I need to get 24. People are like, "Wait a sec." It almost like blows their mind to think like
Mhm.
that a human could do that. Uh, at what point did you hit that switch to say? Because and I say this because I know I'm going through the same thing right now. At what point did you hit that switch where you're like, yeah, no, I want to try, forget marathon, but and forget
Mhm.
road running because it's not like that. But you're like, yeah, I want to kind of dip my toe into this. What was that switch for you?
Um, yeah, so I guess I have to it's a kind of a weirder story than that because it's like, um this is not a brag, but like so in 2024, I ran 7 marathons. So I ran all 6 before there were 7 majors. I ran all 6 majors in that year.
What are
And
they?
the set um Tokyo, Boston, London, Berlin, Chicago, New York.
Oh,
That's the original 6.
okay.
So I ran all 6 in one year with like the help of a lot of like really cool brands. But the 7th marathon was Osaka Marathon, and
Hmm.
that's also in Japan. But that's 7 days before Tokyo. So I
Oh,
ran Osaka Marathon, and then I ran Tokyo Marathon, and then I ran Boston, and then Boston and London is 6 days apart. So like you
what?
run Boston on a Monday, and then you get on a flight like Wednesday, Thursday, and then you go run, London. So those are
Oh,
6 days apart. So like those two quick turnarounds was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. Like your body's kind of wild, and then even like, and then I tried to go for a PR in Berlin and didn't get it because I caught like a wild cramp at 25. I was like definitely on the way. And then turned around and ran 2 minutes faster, not than my PR, but closer to my PR, ran 2 minutes faster in Chicago 30 days later.
Mhm.
And so like all while this was happening, like people were like, "Oh man, you should run ultras," like because like you could do it, cause just because I had run 7 days apart, and they're like that's
Yeah.
not the same thing at all. But in people's brains though, that was like it kind of like I didn't think about it, I just heard it and let it
Mhm.
like go into the ether or whatever. And then so then like at the after New York in November, around that same time or something, right before maybe somebody from the Speed Project. Are you familiar?
No.
So the Speed Project is an unsanctioned race. It started from back like I think 13 years ago. These people, a group of people, ran from Los Angeles Santa Monica Pier to
Mhm.
Las Vegas, the sign in Las Vegas.
Oh, yes, I've heard of
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but now there's like three or different races around the world, like LA and Atacama Desert, and then like like over it in Chamonix.
Mhm.
But so the guy invited me. He said, "Hey, do you want to come?" My guy Niels was like, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this?" Because I had met him in Berlin. He's from Berlin and stuff. I met him before, and he thought it was cool and stuff like that. I thought he was cool, and he's like, "Do you want to be a part of this?" And do you can do like a relay because it's traditionally relay. He's like,
Mhm.
"Do you want to do relay?" And he said, "Or solo," and kind of like laughed or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh no, yeah, I'll think about the relay, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, that'd be cool, to get my people, like some people that I know from here, and get a bunch of black folks out there and do a relay." Um, but then every time I told somebody when I was in New York that followed to run that race, to run the marathon, I would tell people like, "Oh yeah, I got invited to do TSP," because I was just kind of like seeing what they thought, and and like three people separately were like, "Solo," and I was like, "No," like, "No," like, "What are you talking about?" And but then each time I said no super fast, I got more. Each time I said no, I got more like self-deprecating, like, "Heck no, I could never," whatever. And it's
Mm.
like I had to think about it like after. And honestly, I was just like, yo, why am I saying no so fast? Like it made me uncomfortable about how I felt about my abilities or like my reasoning for saying no or whatever. So I thought about it. And then I'm like, all right, so if I was gonna do solo, because I went from potentially relay to like now I'm like, if I was gonna do solo, why would I do it? And I would do it if I could make it mean something.
Mhm.
Like, and I ended up raising money for a nonprofit called Release Recovery. So they release recovery. If you look it up, they're based in New York, and they raise money to give people scholarships to get into rehab for 30 days or more, and that's like
Mm.
6 7 $8,000 per month. So if you're going through it, bro, you don't have insurance, and a lot of insurances don't pay for stuff like this. And also if you're going through that, like you don't have typically have like $6 7,000 sitting around
Yeah.
so you can take care of yourself. So I'm like, If I can raise money for that, that would mean a lot to me, and that would mean a lot to people because you could change somebody's life and then therefore change their family's like trajectory forever. And then how would I do it if would I be able to train properly for it? So I talked to my coach that I had since 2019, and she's like, "This is crazy because it's 340 miles. But I think you're strong enough. I've been training with you. I've been training you for 5 6 years now. I think you could do this if we do it right." So I'm like, "Bet." Told my guy Nils, like, "I'll do solo." He's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yep, solo." And so then I ran my first ultra experience from a marathon was after that was 340 miles in 6 days from LA to Las Vegas. So that was my entry to like ultras. And then so I did the 340 first, and then I got on Dylan Bowman's podcast after the
Mhm.
340 because he heard about it and he's like, "I got to talk to you." So we talked. I shared my story. My best friend that I talked about a little earlier passed 7 days or so before I went out to the
Oh.
to Las Vegas to LA to start the race.
Oh.
And apparently he passed of some a drug issue. I believe like fentanyl was potentially in this thing that he didn't know or something.
Oh, man.
So to lose him to something like that, and I didn't know he was struggling or if he even was, because like in fentanyl now, like this stuff, you don't even need to be struggling. It's like it could be a one
Yep.
time thing.
Yep.
But to lose him to that while I was raising thousands of dollars for people to get into rehab, and his funeral could have potentially been while I was gone. So I just like had to decide, like, am I going? Am I going to my best friend and like in of life? Am I going to his funeral? Like, and I'm like, what would he want me to do? And at that moment, I was just like, I got to go do this, you know. So started this race. Kind of dedicated the whole thing to him in my mind, and then ran 340 miles from LA to Las Vegas, touched the sign. And in fact, like I was in the middle of Death Valley, like during his funeral, and it felt like I was where I was supposed to be in a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was my entry. And then next thing you know, Dylan's like, hey man, you should try to do hundreds because maybe one day, maybe you could get into, all the people, maybe you can get into Western. So I ran Javelina with Hoka and ran 1903, I think. And then at Javelina 100, and then got my ticket because you need a qualifying spot. Even if like a brand brings you, you need,
Yeah.
like, I like that about that. Like you can be an influencer all you want to, but you got to make sure you can go do your, do the distance. But they had like Hoka, the main sponsor of this race, only has like a few bibs to do that with, which is actually super meaningful because it's like they're not just like willy nilly. They're very
Yeah.
particular with it. So big shout out to them for like trusting that I was gonna do the work to try to at least be prepared for the day. And yeah, then I ran, then jumped, did a bunch of training and got ready for Western.
So I want to hit on the Hoka thing because I'm sure there's people who are getting into this, and they're one of the questions is like, how do I get a sponsor?
Yeah, yeah.
How does that happen? Um, how did it happen for you? And then the next question is going to be, what would you recommend to someone who's getting into this? Really, anything. It doesn't need to be ultra running
Yeah.
to make that happen.
Well, so for me, it just happened just like, I've been working with brands since 2020, 2021.
Hmm.
And yeah, I didn't have a lot of followers, and I don't have a bunch of followers now. Like, but I tell my story. I share how I feel. Um, I use my biggest moments, on Instagram, that when I do things that I think are amazing, when I could talk about, add to the lore and talk about how amazing I am or how tough the day was. Like I normally use those moments to be reflective and like talk about how I feel or how I felt or what, the 2016 version of me would think now. Like I use those moments to like act to be even more transparent about what I do.
Hmm.
I talk about, my community. I try to, whenever I have opportunities, I use my platform or my leverage or my whatever you call what I got to help other people and try to bring people along and expose other people to things or give opportunities to people that wouldn't have them because of my said follower count or something. So I think brands have just watched how I've maneuvered this whole time. And uh, I think the invite is potentially from that. Like I knew them from road stuff too,
Hmm.
but I think even all of that is all just me doing my thing. Like I don't necessarily go after trying to make viral videos, which is also a way to get a bunch of attention.
Yeah.
But that's not my journey and not normally my advice. My advice normally is to tell your story, be real, do your thing, work hard, and just show all the transparency in that. And I think as like AI goes that way, and we keep going more and more and more, and people keep reaching for more views and likes and stuff like that, and comments and controversy. I think more and more, even the smaller like micro influencers and micro creators who are like actually connected to real people telling real stories, and who their engagement's even higher because it's like your engagement percentage will could, somebody can have 1 million followers and have like a 0.5% engagement rate, which is a lot of people. But
Yeah.
then you could have, 5,000 or 10,000 and have like, 10% or 15% engagement rate
Hmm.
because of the people you're building actually really rock with you.
Yeah.
That's really valuable for brands. Like they're going to talk to that 10 million person, but they're also going to be looking for people whose voices are actually like resonating in all these different spaces and communities. So I think that's my advice is like, if you want to play the algorithm game, then that's fun. That's cool. But if you don't, it's like don't be worried about the number necessarily. Like drill down on like the story of like what really gets you going and really what you're really into and be real about it. And I know you'll find people that you'll create that community, So that's how I got picked. I feel like is I know because they know what I represent. They know how I'm gonna approach it. They know how I'm gonna handle failure. They know
Mhm.
how I'm gonna handle the success of it too because they've seen me do both. And it's basically the same thing either way. And I think that's my advice is show people who you are and just keep doing that.
Man, that's great advice. I think that in the world of AI, where everything is kind of like just like you don't even know what's real anymore,
Yeah, yeah, bro.
I think there's going to be a gravitation back to real, like just
Yeah,
people
yeah,
being
for
real.
sure.
People, no crazy edits. Your stuff is just raw and real.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of crazy edits in your stuff, and you're just like, hey, this is me, and I think that resonates with a lot of people because they can feel that it
Yeah.
feels normal, it feels relatable, and I think people are going to want a little bit more of that realism and less of
Hmm.
the AI fatigue is already happening.
Bro,
So that's super
I'm
cool
over it.
that you just being you and being out there and being authentic. And like you said, you don't have this massive following, like 2 million followers.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in the near future for you. However, because of what you're doing and how real you are, however, that's a great point you make. You don't need to have that because I've got, and I'm sure you've seen this. I got a friend. He has, I don't know, about like 1.5 million followers. And I see him go live on IG and I see 14 people in his live. 14. He has like over a million followers and he has 14 people. I've never because I always get notified when he goes live and he's a friend, so I always try to jump on and just support him, send a message, what's up? 14 people. Now, I have another friend who has 6,000 followers. And anytime he goes live, and he's not even talking about, he's just kind of sharing what he's doing that day and
Hmm.
giving a little bit of emotion. But he has about six, maybe a little bit more than 6,000 now. And the other day, he went on. I saw he had like 140 people watching. I said, "Wait a
Yeah.
second, wait
Yeah.
a second. This guy's got 6,000 followers. He got 140 people in his live. This guy got 1.5 million, and he has like 14 people in his live. So
Yep.
it's not about the quantity; it's about the quality. And like you said, that engagement matters. That engagement. If I'm as a owner of a company,
You would
I
think,
would
right?
rather that. I'd rather the second guy.
Yeah.
Give me
Yeah.
the
You would
guy with
think.
5,000 followers, but when he puts something out there, he's
Yeah.
got 5,000 people engaged rather than the 2 million guy that when he puts something out there, five people are like, okay, that's cool. You
Yep.
know?
Yep.
So yeah, man, I'm glad you said that because there's a lot of people out there who feel like, man, I don't got a big following, whatever.
Hmm.
In this day and age, you really don't need that. You just need that engagement. You need a
Hmm.
solid following, and being real. That's what comes from being real. And those people, those are your, I've heard the term thousand screaming fans. You want 1,000 screaming fans. If you get
Hmm.
1,000 like rabid screaming fans behind you, then everything else just kind of explodes from there.
Exactly.
So that's
Exactly.
super cool that you have companies like Hoka supporting you. Are you
Yeah.
doing anything with Precision? Did you do something with
Yeah.
Precision?
Yeah. So Precision tapped in with me. I don't somewhere in like December, January, or something like that. Like I pitch. That's what I do. Like I go at brands directly with
Mhm,
ideas that I think that matter, that I think
mhm,
that are valuable to me, but also valuable to them. So like
mhm.
I've never been shy with that. Like I'll just most of the things that have happened that look cool and look big is because like I went to the brand and was like, yo, like this is what I want to do. Here's how you can
Mm,
be involved. Here's how it makes sense. Here's where, whatever. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. So we'll support you. So they started fueling me from like January all the way up until Western States.
that's cool.
And I ended up they randomly had another bib for LA Marathon. So like they invited me out to that. So I ran the LA Marathon with them. And that was cool, like to kind of meet them because they're from like Christchurch, England.
England, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's yeah. So So I got to meet them. Super cool people, bro. Like literally the coolest people. Like, and then along the way, they're like, "Hey, come out to England 2 3 weeks before Western, so you can jump in our heat lab or heat chamber in the back. They have this heat chamber that's like 102 degrees, 104 degrees, and they put you on a treadmill in there, and they try to get your core temperature up to like 101.5 as fast as possible, like
Mhm.
within like reason, and then they hold you there based on the pace that you're going, and they bring your pace down so you don't overheat or your heart rate doesn't get too high. But so I did 4 sessions in England 2 weeks before Western, in 100 something degree room for an hour each session, 4 sessions in 3 days. And but they just treated me so well, bro. Like it was just like I was telling my girl, like I've been on a lot of brand trips and a lot of like fancy stuff or whatever. I'm like, these people just was like, I felt like I was the only person that went. It wasn't an influencer trip. It wasn't a bunch of us there. It was just me.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they just treated me so cool, bro. Like, and I'm like, oh, this Western thing's gonna be great. And so they actually, Johnny Ty is this their CEO. He normally paces or normally crews for Dan Jones. Like
Mhm.
he's a precision athlete.
Mhm.
And then he crewed for me this time and
Oh,
had two of his other people with me. So they had a car and they just were on they were in my crew. They mapped out all of all of my
nutrition?
nutrition and,
Yeah.
and hydration plans. Do you know Emily? She's
Yeah, I met Emily.
Rachel's.
I met Emily at
Yeah.
TrailCon.
Yeah, so Emily has been my person from like January till now. Like
Oh,
so
cool.
she helped me build everything through. Like, and so they had everything down to a T. They came to the Uber, I mean to the Airbnb before, and had all of our stuff in Ziploc bags measured in front of us. And they were just in the crew, bro. Like, and it was amazing. They're like I don't care. Like, their fuel is great. Honestly, like it's easy to stomach and take. Their hydration plan is absolutely like top tier. Get the sweat test, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But low key, bro, just buy Precision because they actually give people who really, really care about like people in running, and they also care about running.
Yeah.
Like in a way that I don't think that I've seen from many brands. So yeah, shout out to Precision.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt that at TrailCon when I met them and I met Emily and I met the whole crew there. They just are authentic.
Yeah.
They're just real and you could that's it didn't feel like they were trying to sell me anything. They were just like, "What questions do you have? What do you do?" It was real, and I really
Yeah.
appreciated that. And I met Rachel Entrikin there
Hmm.
when there was with them, and I got to chat with her a little bit. And it's just a great vibe and a great crew of people.
Yeah.
I want to hit on something that you just spoke about, which was representation.
Mhm.
Um, when you go to TrailCon, when you go to Western states, you don't see a lot of people that look like you and I.
Mhm.
What is something that you think that can bring more people into the sport of ultra running that needs to happen? Because I believe there's a lot of mental benefits on top of the physical benefits of running
Mhm.
and fitness
Yeah.
in general. But you just posted, I think it was a reel, and I hope you don't mind me sharing. Well, you posted it, so maybe
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
okay.
yeah, share away.
And it
Give me
was
some more views.
a group of, and people just go to his page and check it out on IG. It was a group of young black men running. It looked like cross country practice or something. I don't know. I don't know what it was.
So
And it was just a
that
group
was
of
the
young black men running
yeah,
together.
yeah,
It looked like on a training run. And I believe your caption, correct me if I'm wrong, saying, "I wish I had seen something like this when I was their
yeah.
age," or something like that. You
No,
put
no.
on the,
So that was yeah. So I was that was me. So I
oh,
was
you in
in
there?
that. My son actually took the video from my car. So
Okay.
that was we won 3 on 3 that I mentioned. They do. I was just looking at the six so I could see what it said. So we run 3 on 3 does a Tuesday and a Thursday run. This is
Okay.
like their 5K, 10K day. Their other
Okay.
one's 2 miles, so it's like hundreds and hundreds of people. This one is about like 100, maybe 100 to 200 people show up to run 5K or 10K.
Okay.
And this was just me and a couple of my friends, and then a lot of the people in the group. Just I think that was like at mile 3 of the 10K.
Okay.
and we're just running down the street. So like these are grown-ups, like these are like from age 41 to 40 something to 20 something,
Okay.
just a group of people just running, talking, laughing at like a 8:45-minute pace or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I said, I wonder what my life would have been like if I saw stuff like this all the time. Like
Explain that.
it was kind of it
Yeah,
was
explain that.
so like I wonder what my life would have been like if I saw stuff like this all the time. It kind of came from like the thought of like my son took that video. So it's
Mhm.
like I kind of was like, "Damn, that's crazy that he thinks this is normal." Like cuz
Yeah.
he's seen me do this and he's been to those runs. He's run in those groups before. He's just seen that enough times for him to not even like have a clue that that's not normal. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Dang, if I saw that growing up, if I saw one or two black people running through like a neighborhood or whatever, just for fun or recreation, it would just be like, what is going like, what are
Yeah.
you doing, bro?
Yeah, like,
But
what
just
is
to
this?
see 20 people, 20 black men just running down the street, like laughing and talking, it just it would have set like a like, what is that? Like, I need to figure out more. I need to see like what that's about. And if I saw that all the time, I think that like maybe I wouldn't have started running earlier, but I would have felt maybe like the world, the things that I thought are just not our thing could be our thing.
Yeah. Yep,
Or
yep,
I could be invited, or I could be not even invited, but I have a space there. I can go.
yep.
Like maybe, just so many things that as a young black man in this country growing up, you just in many countries actually, um, you just feel like, you know, those things aren't our thing, and that's okay. And that's just it's not expected. And even if you do it, it's actually you might get made fun of if you do those things too, if you're
That
from your
too.
own
Yeah,
people,
that too. Yeah. Yeah.
because it's so far out of our thing. Like, what are you doing, bro? Why are you running around, with little shorts on? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, but like I just thought about like the possibility, if we saw ourselves more often, like almost regularly in different little spots in the world.
Yeah.
If we saw black executives that got as much shine as like Diddy, you know,
Yep.
and all the people that kind of like led us in this, you know, way or weird way, or they're being weird themselves. If we had more representation in like corporate America and they got the shine that like people like that got growing up, what ceilings would we have removed early? And I think that's just the concept of it. Um, and then when it comes to like trail and ultra, I think the more representation you see on road and the more that we see black people participating in this like boom that we're in, and we've been in for like a year or two or three, it seems. So I don't think it's stopping anytime soon. I think the more black folks and people of color that we see involved in that will then lead to people that have been doing it for a few years or more start to kind of like tip over into trail and go like, oh, I want to try something different, or it's too crowded here. I want to do this, I want to do that, and just try more things. But then on the other side of that, the more people that they see presenting that space as a space where maybe there's not enough, but there's still spots here. There's still, room for us here. That like gives them a way to go, like just like High Rocks or something like that. The more
Yeah.
black people, I guess, people see in High Rocks, it's like, oh, I want to try something different. And if the High Rocks is the only place that has diversity and representation, that's probably going to be where people, oh, let's try that. But if there's more people in trail and ultra and running 100 miles or 340 or whatever, and presenting it in a way that feels like them too, because I've noticed that representation, just for representation's sake, isn't always the vibe because it gets a little tokeny.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like no shade to like snowboarding and stuff like that. But then there's times where like you see somebody black and then you hear them and you see how they move, you see who they're with, you see their people, and you go, that's not necessarily me.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's his thing. That's amazing. Good job. You know?
Yep.
Um, I don't know Tiger Woods personally, but um seeing Tiger was like, oh, that's really amazing. But then I know for sure as a young black guy that golfed around black people, we looked up to him because of his greatness, but then we also felt like he was separate from us, not because of how great he was, but just because of how he carried himself and who he chose to like. He you don't it was just like he's not he's good job, like I'll wear a red
Yeah.
shirt, but he wasn't necessarily like speaking to us. He
Yeah.
purposely said he wasn't speaking to us,
Yeah.
in many words. But I think the more we see representation with a voice that really is like owning what they are in those spaces, then you get more people in trail and ultra. I'm long winded, man. Sorry for
No, I love it,
all
and
the.
no, it actually deserves to be long winded because this is an important topic because this is how the community grows,
Mhm,
and I think that you're right. There is a shift occurring because coming up, there were certain things that I would express interest in,
mhm.
and certain people would say, "Oh, that's a white people thing,"
Yeah, it's white
or
people.
"Why you want to do that? That's
Yeah.
like that's a like that's like oh that's real white of you," and it was almost like a shame to say
Mm,
to like go and do something
yeah.
that was predominantly done by white people. It's like, all right, well, so what? I'm not allowed to ever go try that. I'm not allowed to go have an interest in it.
Yeah.
What if I like it? What if I'm good at it? You know,
What if I'm good at it, bro?
I was really young. I'm like super young, probably elementary school when I told my mom I wanted to try ice hockey. A couple of my friends that I played football with were playing ice hockey, and I remember when I first told my friends in the town I lived in, and it was predominantly a little small white town. They're like, you don't play ice. What are you talking about? I'm like, I want to
Mhm.
try it. It looks fun. Because I went to go see my friends playing some of the games. I'm like, oh, that looks fun. I didn't even know how to ice skate. So don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to
Right.
ice skate. I didn't know how to hit a puck. I didn't know anything. But I was like, oh, it looks fun. And they're out there, it's just like a sport for me. And you wouldn't believe how many people were like, yeah, that's not for you. I'm like, what?
Mm,
Why not? But then you realize someone has to be the trailblazer. And in that, like, I remember the first time I heard about PK Subban, and
mm.
I was like, oh, this dude did it. This dude did
Yeah.
it. He's out there, and he literally was like, I don't care what anyone else says. I'm playing ice hockey, and I'm going to get really good at it. And he became one of the best. So I think there is that need to put all that noise aside
Mhm,
and I think that's changing a little bit now where people will see someone like you doing an ultra marathon. And listen, let's just be real. At Western States, you and I were like one of like four people that look like us at
mhm,
literally in that whole little like town,
mhm,
literally. So but to me, I'm like I'm not going to be uncomfortable here. I belong. There's something I'm interested in. It's for my health. I have friends that do it. Um, that push, what you're doing right now, to show maybe some younger people, be like, oh shit, he's doing it. That's
mhm,
cool. He's still being him, and I feel like I can relate to him. All right, maybe I can look into this. Maybe I'll give this a shot. It's not like, and I know what you said with Tiger, people were like, that's
mm.
cool. But like, you saw what like the group he was with, he married a white
Yeah.
lady, and like people were like, wait, hold on. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was different. But with this, I think the mentality is changing,
Yeah.
thankfully. And I think the mood around this is changing. And I think that's the best thing. People need to know. I'll never forget one of the things I got invited to early on when I started my company, which is crazy because it came out of nowhere. It was some bank. I don't know if it was Capital One. I think it was Capital One. Said we'd like you to come do. Maybe it was. I don't know. We would like you to come speak on this with this panel because we're going
Mhm,
to speak to young kids in New York City, and our headquarters is in New York City. And what they did, it was an inner city school, and they brought me, they brought a doctor, some engineer, a bunch of people, but they were all people of color,
mhm,
and sat in this room. So you had all these young kids that were sitting in this room, and they saw all these people of color that were all these high level professions. You know, not a football player, not a basketball
mhm.
player, not a
Yeah,
rapper,
amen. Yeah.
like a doctor, a lawyer, a biologist, a CEO, whatever. So it just kind of put into their mind, like, oh, got it. All right.
Possibilities.
So I could one day be there too. Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly. Like that's exactly what that has to sink in. And like when I saw that clip you put, which I didn't know you were in that. It looked like, by the way, everyone looked in amazing shape and everyone looked
Yeah,
really
no,
young. I thought it was
it
like a
was
bunch of
cool. It was
teenagers.
cool.
So
Yeah,
kudos to that.
yeah.
But like,
Yeah,
what
black
if you
don't
had
crack.
seen that, right? Like, what if you had seen that? Like, what if young people see people in high level positions of all kinds of high level careers
Yeah,
out there? What is it? How's it going to change for them? They can say, yeah, me too. I
yeah,
can do that too. In sport, they see people and they say, man, I think I could try that. I think that would be
right,
fun. I think that'd be interesting.
right.
I think I could try that. And getting out of the, oh, that's for people who look like that, or that's for those people. Which is, I
Right.
think, a huge deal.
Yeah.
I want to,
And I wanted to
no, go
add
ahead,
too,
go
like, I
ahead.
mean, so yeah, like, cause the tiger thing, like, yeah, I mean, there's like no shade to like whatever preference or who he met
Yeah,
and fell in
yeah,
love with and all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
But it was like, that, part of life. Cause we do have to like, we're looking at it and saying, like, all right, well, this. And then when you have opportunities to speak for your people or for your perspective for, being a black man, and you choose to not necessarily engage in that and and say like, "Oh no, I'm Cabo Asian." Like bro, like we know, like
yeah, yeah,
to the world, you're a black dude, bro, 'cause, like
yeah.
you can decide that you don't want to be that and all that, but that also just if you have an opportunity to see yourself in these spaces and be the only or the one of few or the whatever, and you have an opportunity to speak from that perspective, that doesn't mean you don't have to tear nobody else down, but you do. To
Right.
me, you have to reach, like you have to like reach back and be like, all right, well, maybe I don't feel like this completely, but I'm gonna speak for us in this moment, in this answer. And I think that that's what's super important. Having a picture of some black people at the expo in TrailCon,
Mhm, mhm,
isn't it like the
mhm,
having, to be honest, like having me be like the only black person I think that spoke at TrailCon this year. Um, that ain't it either. Like I'm
mhm.
glad that I was able to be there and speak
Sure.
with my piece. And
Yeah.
both of the things that I talked about, panels I talked about, had nothing to do with being black and trail,
Mhm.
but that's what I talked about because that's what I felt like needed to be said. And that's also why like I made the black skin looks good on trail shirts. At first when I had typed out a post, it came from a post just like that post. I wrote some words over it. That came from a
Mhm.
post after Big Alta, and I put black skin looks good on trail over the picture. And people started hashtagging it and liking it. So I'm like, oh, we're making a shirt for sure.
Yeah.
But but I was gonna say in that post, I was gonna say brown skin looks good on trail because I wanted to be more inclusive and like kind of cover, the thing. But
Yeah.
sometimes like bro, you just gotta like I'm black, bro. Like sometimes you gotta speak directly at the thing, and go with, what to be your truth. And sometimes that means you gotta go real narrow and be a little more aggressive with the statement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of like circle
Yeah,
back on
no,
that.
no, I like it, and 100%. Yeah. No
Yeah.
shade to anyone who's put themselves out there and done anything. I think there's people
Yeah.
who are in certain positions that could have done
Could.
more,
Yeah, that's it
um,
right there. Yep.
and don't. One of the things that I didn't realize, and it was brought to my attention by one of the coaches I had worked with in the past, was what Venus and Serena Williams did. And he
Mhm.
kind of was a high level coach for athletic rehab, a black man. And he said they did more for sport than Tiger because they brought a lot of people into the world of tennis that previously saw tennis as this
Mhm.
lack of a better term, like white people sport,
Mhm.
and they were encouraging people to come in, people who didn't look like the normal tennis players at the French Open, US Open, thing at
Mhm.
Wimbledon. And that was the first initial push. And I didn't realize that. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I now
Yeah.
thinking back, it makes sense. I was like, all right, that was good. That
Yeah.
was like they did work to bring people in the inner city,
Yeah.
young black men, young black girls into the sport of tennis. They organized events, they did fundraising. To me, I was like, okay, that was legit. That was good because of where they came from and their background.
Yeah.
and it also made a lot of people, young kids, say like, "Oh wow, they did it. I could go. I could play tennis. I could go into that space." And to me, that was super cool. That was super cool to see. That was
Yeah.
a big transition
I
during
mean,
that
but
time.
even like look at like because I mean Tiger kind of did the same. You know, like he had like he was big with the first tee program. Like I saw he came to Detroit one time and they was and did a clinic and stuff like that. And but just look at like if you go back to videos or you don't have to go back very far, but go back to the beginning of Serena Williams and Serena and Venus's career, and then for years and even till now, like look how they like dress and how they carry themselves. Like they was doing full tournaments in hair in braids with full beads, bro.
Yeah.
Like not just like a little bit at the end. They was like full beat. They had hairstyles of like girls we grew up with, you
Yep.
know, like and they were out there at the performing at the highest level, but being 100% authentically themselves. And that to me is also matched with all the community stuff. Like that statement and that choosing to do that over and over and over, even if I know for sure it made them feel uncomfortable themselves at times, you know,
Yeah.
to go in there fully themselves. Like that's
Yeah.
a scary thing, you know, to do as a young girl, a young black girl. Like we two black dudes sitting there talking, man, black women like they got it worse than we got, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
it's like, but yeah, that's the vibe. Like if you can go in and be yourself 100%, like whatever you represent, go do your thing at its fullest, and it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna hurt a bit. You probably not gonna work with everybody because everybody doesn't want that. But the people that will follow you and people that will go along with that journey with you will be your like diehard fans forever.
Oh yeah. For real. So
Yep.
now I want to talk about Western States 100,
All right. All
and
right.
I want to get into this because it's important.
Yep.
Um, when you got into the race, obviously you knew about the history of it, you knew
Hmm.
about the challenge of it. Um, what was the one thing that you did that was different for preparing for Western States 100 than any other race you did?
I guess so. I had done the 340, so I knew how to put in a lot of miles to train. So I did a lot of miles again for this, and just like I did a lot of miles for like javelina because the distance in general, 100 miles is the long distance. But I had the honor and like the privilege of like running Big Alta. Um, that's Dylan Bowman's race. Shout out to Dylan Bowman right now. He's out like they just started Hard Rock this morning, so he's out there somewhere
Oh,
in the mountains somewhere. But Dylan invited me to do Big Alta, which is 12,000 feet of elevation gain in 100K. So it's very similar to that first 100K at Western, to be honest.
mhm,
You know,
mhm,
very similar. A
mhm,
little less technical than some of the spots in Western, but so I went out there thinking that I was fit enough because I was doing a bunch of miles before the 100K. And then I realized at during that 100K that I'm terrible and, like, super inefficient at, like, hiking or, like, walking. Like, because as a road runner, you don't train to walk, you don't train to power hike, you don't you don't those muscles aren't even there. Like, walking is not a thing. So I came away from that and was like, okay, I live in Michigan, it's super flat. Told my coach, I'm like, my issue that day was this in particular. So every double that I did, you know, double day that I did, I would do, you know, 8, 10, 12 miles or whatever in the morning. And then I would get on the treadmill in the afternoon and turn the treadmill up as high as it goes. I think it was like 15% or whatever.
mhm, mhm,
And put it at like 3.5 up to like 4 miles per hour with either like a weighted vest on or just like purely just like power hiking for 4 to 5 miles. So like you're just constant, just power hike. And that's the difference that like I feel like that's what held me together, knowing that like on some of these climbs, I didn't have to feel too much pressure. And I also didn't feel like I was losing a bunch of ground as I was hiking. So that's like the biggest difference that I made
mhm.
or change that I did to this one over like a javelina because the miles are the miles. I think in May, I think I ran 425 miles in May. So like I was putting up big miles. But then also a lot of that was like that power hiking and trying to do some lifting that gets like that
Yeah.
your legs a bit stronger.
So when you got to the point where you were ready for that race,
Hmm.
then you now have to look at crew
Hmm.
and nutrition, hydration. Um, what was that like putting that together? Maybe people who are watching this don't know, but doing a 100-mile race, preparing it physically, the training is
It's a
important,
lot.
but you got to have a crew, man. You got to have a
Yeah.
plan that
Yeah.
will. I mean, of course, sometimes the plan falls apart, but you got to go in with a plan.
Have to.
Yeah.
So what I did was like even like for the speed project, I had an all black crew. It was all we were just all I was black, everybody was black. And that was all our first time doing anything like that, which is hilarious. But one of my one of my good none of them had ultra ran, nothing. It was just like we were just out there.
I
But
love it. I love it.
so first, obviously like I needed my girl ran the speed project with me too. Like she jumped in there, pace, and my friend Earn. My girl, she ran 122 miles that week that I did 340, and he ran 100, you know. So I immediately went to her like, I need you. You got to be either crew captain or you just got to be there. Like you have to be there. You have to pace me. She's like, bet I'm in. And then I said, Earn, like I need you back. You got to be out here because he wasn't able to be at Javelina with me. She paced me at Javelina.
Okay.
But so the other two people that were part of the main part of the crew were Adam and Austin, who were also Adam was at Javelina with me. He paced me the last loop. So the last 20, my girl paced me the fourth loop,
Okay.
mile, 80 or 60 to 80. So I just went back to people that I knew were like have seen me like fight through something. And I knew that they knew how to match with the energy that I needed. Cause I'm not a big rah-rah guy. I'm not I'm not a let's fucking go guy, for real. I just need smooth energy. And when I'm low, I need you to not go low with me. Like just stay where you were, but I don't need super hype. So I knew that they knew what I needed. So I got Dante, Earn, Adam. We added Austin in there too because he was part of the camera crew. Paul came like last minute, like a week before. He was like, "If you let me stay with you, I'll take pictures." I'm like, bet, because he's really good at that. So he pulled up. But then I also had Precision, because like almost from months ago they said they were gonna send somebody on my crew, one or two people, and they ended up sending three people. So they help with a lot of the logistics for hydration and fueling. But then the rest of it was like my people, my crew, who just knew what I needed and they knew how to get along. And that's why I love Precision so much, because they're not from here. Like it could have been a weird vibe.
Yeah.
Not even intentionally, but like all of my crew, like my team was like, yo, like this was perfect. Like we somehow like we were like family, right away. And Precision said it too, like your people, your crew is just absolutely amazing. So I just reach people that I know, and I know the people that I trust, that like while I'm out there suffering by myself, I know that they're doing their best to be ready when I get there.
Yeah. So what was the let me say the hardest part of Western states?
Mm.
When because obviously let me not say obviously because a lot of
Yeah.
people who don't know, the first 62 miles until you get to Forest Hill, roughly, uh,
Mm.
a pacer is not allowed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's aid stations. You see your
Mm.
crew a bunch of times during that first 62 miles, but it's not until then that you get to pick up a pacer. So how was that for you from a mental standpoint to make it through that first 62 from the start, which is, for those of you who don't know, the race starts with, I think, a 4.5-mile climb. I did it. I did
Something
that
like
climb on
that.
Thursday. That escarpment. So it's a
Yep.
4.5-mile climb, and
20,
then you
2,500 something feet, I think, maybe.
2,500 feet of elevation gain. So it's real. I did it, and I can't believe I did it. I kind of got bamboozled into it to do it on Thursday. I didn't know what I was getting into. And then I ran back down, which was also not a good idea. So that's how you start the race. And then now
Yeah.
you have to create your plan, your pace to get to 62, where
Mm.
you can now pick up a pacer. Did you pick up a pacer immediately at Forest Hill, or did you just
Yeah.
did you keep going?
No. So picked up my girl at Forest Hill from mile 62 to 78. She to the Truckee River crossing. She
Mhm.
stopped on the other side. She wasn't trying to get in.
Oh,
And
she didn't
then I
go in?
picked up. She didn't go in. She stopped on that side because I had a crew. I had the precision team. Part of the crew was on that side, so I
Okay.
sat with them for a second, got my stuff together, and then went across the river. Picked up my second pacer urn at Green Gate, and that's
Okay.
like a
Yeah.
1.5 mile climb out of
One point. No,
water.
no, no. It's like almost two. It's like one point. My watch said
It's
1.87 or
1.8.
something.
Yeah, it's 1.8. Yeah, there you go. 1.8, and it's like 2,000 feet. It's
Yeah.
like 1,500, 2,000 feet in a mile, in like a mile and a half, which
Yeah.
is very fucking gnarly, you know. But so from 0 to 62, like was actually like so we talked about failure in the beginning of this, and my goal, like I'll just be real, my goal was 22 hours. Like that was my goal. Like,
Okay.
and I was on targets for that goal. I was 30 minutes ahead of that goal at Forest Hill. So, and I was 15 minutes ahead of it at like I can't remember the name of these things now, like Dusty Corner, somewhere,
Yeah.
20 miles before. I was like 15 minutes. So I was gaining on it. Like, okay, here we go. 22, sub 22, let's go. But right around like 20-ish miles, I started like having a little like nausea. Like, and I just, so all the fuel that I was taking, I had to take a little slower. I was like not drinking everything that I needed to because I was just trying to not get sick. I was trying to get through all that. But
Mm,
the nausea lasted forever. So I finally got to 62, sat down for a little bit before I picked up my pacer. And they got me some hard food that wasn't like, aid station typical food. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is going down easier. I'm good. I'm drinking. I didn't
yeah.
think I had too much, but I was just like chilling. So I got up to go. My mom actually was like waiting in the middle of the street in at Forest Hill. So she surprised me. She came from Savannah, Georgia.
No.
She's just standing in the middle of Forest Hill, like, cause it's like it's all
It's
tunnel.
that
And
road.
I'm
Yeah.
looking, I'm seeing she's got the black skin, looks good on trail, white shirt. And I'm like, who has on my shirt? And I got a little closer and then just like collapsed to my knees. So I was like, my mom just pulls up.
Oh man.
So that was really cool. But me and my girl get out into like maybe mile like 63, 64, and I just throw up everything. Like not just
Oh.
like a little what I'm talking about, that one where you just get rid of everything. So you're
Everything.
like
All
you're,
the contents of your stomach are
everything.
gone. Yeah.
And then you go back for more and then you go back for more until like nothing's there. So I'm like, yo, that's trash. I'm like, okay, cool. I think I feel better. Going next aid station, I try to eat a little bit. I had a couple gels, ate a little bit, gone. And the next aid station again, gone. Like so, like I threw up 3 times between mile 62 and like 72 or something like
Oh.
that. Like hard ones. Like even my girl one time, she was like the last time she was like, Jesus Christ, like out loud. Like, cause she was just like, this is, I don't even know how this is happening.
Yeah.
And so that like my whole goal of like 22 went out the window. So like the 24:55 that I finished at was a blessing because like in hindsight, I had like a D day, like A, B, C, D goal.
Yeah.
D goal was to do sub 30. I had like a D day, but it made it like a C goal kind of day. Like I just kind of pushed through.
Yeah.
So it was just tough, tough, tough. It was so like the hardest part of that race for me was like mile pretty much 50 to like 82. Like I was, and it got increasingly more difficult because I think I might have held zero carbs for 3 to 4 hours of that day.
Really?
Yeah, because like I just every time I'd eat, it was just gone, like
Oh,
quickly.
I
Not
see.
even like an hour later. It was like 10 minutes maybe.
Oh man, that's rough. That's rough.
So tough day, but we made it happen though.
Yeah, you got it through. You got it through, and that's
Yeah,
that's that's the that's the thing. People don't realize how many things can go wrong during a hundred
so
mile
many
race. There's so many things with hydration, fueling, heat, foot care,
terrain. Yeah,
terrain. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong in that. I mean, you could just step on a loose rock
yeah,
and
and it's over, and
that's
it's
it.
over.
That's it. So
Yeah,
you have to
yeah.
really be kind of locked in. And when I was pacing, I went to go support my friend who was one of the sponsors of the race. The
Yeah.
Vespa, it's this product that helps you burn fat as fuel, so you don't have to take in as much carbs. And I've been kind of leaning into that a little bit. I know you got your, I know you're very, outward about being a vegan, and
Mhm,
everyone has to fuel differently.
mhm.
And so and when I was there, the woman Mo, who was one of the founders of the race, was like, "Oh, there's
Yeah,
some
Mo.
people here who might need a pacer." Mo is super amazing woman,
Yeah,
Mo Livermore, and
yeah.
had a great conversation with her. And so get a text message. hey, this guy from Bend, Oregon is out here and he's 51 years old. He's a dentist
Mm.
and his wife was supposed to be a pacer and she had some kind of medical issue, so she couldn't pace him. And his boy, who came out with him, was supposed to be a pacer, but he hurt his back. So
Mm.
now he's out here. He has crew, including his wife and this guy, but he has no pacers,
Oh
and
man.
he's worried, and he's been waiting 10 years to get into this race. So,
Oh god.
it wasn't like he was going to be like, oh no, I can't do it. I don't got my wife
Next
to
year.
pace. You're
Yeah.
like, no. So, and that's another thing people don't know about Western states is some people wait more than 10 years to get in.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
so I was like, all right, well, I don't know this guy. So went to go meet him, got his story. I'm like, all right, let's go. And I didn't even have shoes. So I go down to Hoka in the TrailCon village and I buy their new shoes. Well, they're not super new, but that Rocket X Trail.
Yep.
I buy a pair. And I'm like, and the girl there who's helping me, she's like, oh, she's like, you want to try to, because they had all the trial pairs. So I'm like, yeah, I got to put these on. I got to see if I could run in these. And she's like, well, what's going on? I'm like, I just found out I got to pace a guy from Forest Hill to Green Gate tomorrow. She's like, what do you mean you just found out? I said, I came here to be a spectator. And this guy needs a pacer. He had some issues, some, plan issues that broke down. And she's like, oh, you're going to run in new shoes? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm good. Don't worry about it. So I tried them. I went up the trail a little bit. I'm like, okay, they're good. Got my pair. And then I just wore them. I wore them that whole day and I wore them that whole next day. And then 5 a.m., I met him at the start line. He was with his family and his crew and everything. They went off. So that night, he was supposed to get to Forest Hill, I think at 8:30. So that was his plan on his plan. He didn't get to Forest Hill till 10 p.m. So I was like, oh, man, this is like not good. See, things fall apart, right? So, and this guy's done some races. He's done some races. He's not a novice. So I met up with him and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Whatever. And like, it was kind of weird because I didn't know this guy. And I'm like, all right, and like you said, when it comes to pacing, not everyone needs the same thing. No one needs like some people need the David Goggins. Some people, the David Goggins is going to shut them down, some people need like that more softer, whatever. Or like you said, just get me back up to where I need to be. I don't need the hype man, just kind of just keep me going. So I had to figure out what he was. And so I was kind of learning that at Forest Hill, just seeing how he was. So we got out of Forest Hill a little bit after 10. And I noticed he was moving a little slow. And I was looking at the times, because I had my little cheat sheet. And I'm like, all right, we need to be here by this time. We need to be here by this time. We need to be at Ford's Garage by this time. And then we need to be at Rucky Chucky by this time because then we can get across the river. He had his drop bag there. I knew it was going to take time for change. We had a little backlog at the river crossing because it was like 3 a.m. and it was super cold. People were freaking out. And so I'm like, all right, we got to manage all this. And then I said, we got to manage that climb after the river crossing. So you need to save some of your legs for this climb. And so then after I got him, we made up time where then he went from being behind to like about an hour ahead of where he needed to be.
Sweet.
So we made up some time, but that was just really, and he said it to me later. He said a lot of the stuff we ran was because you were there. If you were not there, I would have walked that. And had I walked all of those spots, I probably wouldn't have finished within under 30 hours. He was like 29, 21 he finished.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And he's like, there's no way. Because that was almost 20 miles I was with him from Forest Hill to Green Gate. And he's like, 100%. Some of those areas, there's no way I would have stopped. So that's the power of a pacer, but you got to learn how to pace. But man, we went through so many emotional swings just in that roughly 20 miles of what he can do, what he couldn't do, his stomach, his GI issues, whatever was coming up, not being able to take in electrolytes, being cold. It was cold out there, which I think was a benefit on race day because typically that race is super hot,
so hot.
and the heat takes people out, out. So being that it was a little bit cooler weather this year, I think helped a lot, and I think it helped him too. But man, there's so many elements of that. So you finished in in a time that for most people is a phenomenal time, by the way. But in your
Yeah,
for
yeah.
your goal,
Yeah, no, I'm
you
happy with it for
yeah, you
sure
were over
too.
that. But so after the race,
Mm.
what was your recovery like? And what did it take you to get back? I saw you posted something like you're like it was like a couple of days later you went to the gym and
Yeah.
you did the treadmill for like a mile. You're like, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, so I forgot I did that one. Yeah, so I think I did, like, 2 miles on the treadmill, like,
Yeah.
maybe 5, 6 days later or something like that. After Big Alta, I ran, like, the next day, that's 100K, and I had been doing, like, a little streak. I had run for 184 days up to, like, in 84 184th the 84th day was a Western day, you know? So I was thinking
Wow.
about running that Sunday, like, a mile really quick, but I'm like, "That's not what the goal was to do, like, a little streak to get there just to get my mind of, like, we gotta just stay used to moving."
Yeah.
But so the recovery, I've just been taking it slow, like, I haven't like, I've only run 3 times since then.
Hmm.
I ran yesterday 6 miles, which was actually kind of a surprise to me. Because the time a few days before that, I ran a mile and a half and felt a couple little pains that were, like, unfamiliar.
Hmm.
And then but that 2-mile run on the treadmill was, like, smooth. I'm like, "Okay, I'm back." And then, like, the next run, I was like, "Okay, I'm not back." So I've just been, like I just been just, taking it easy and doing what I feel like is right and spending more time, like, just at the house with the kids, running errands,
Hmm.
Um, really just no pressure. I mean, sometimes I feel like we just got to jump back into it. And if you want to, great. If you don't, then don't. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of the recovery for me for Western is obviously physical, but then a lot of it's like mental and emotional. Like for days, for a week, I just felt like I was like a little foggy, like I just didn't have everything. I did an
Hmm.
interview with Hillary Yang like on Monday.
Oh wow!
No,
Right
not
after.
Monday. Not Monday. It was like very, very soon after.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I was so foggy, like, and like I don't even want to listen to the interview because like I'm sure it had to be trash. But it just came out like yesterday, so if you want to go listen to it, let me know.
I'm gonna check it
But
out. We'll link it below too.
yeah, yeah. But like it was really just that because like sometimes like in these ultras, like you're so quiet for so long, like
Yeah.
like you're in a lot of times you're by yourself for hours and hours and hours, and I don't listen to music when I run, like I don't have headphones or nothing. So I was just like, it just took me a long time to like want to talk, like in real, like hold the conversation. Like I just was enjoying like not saying anything. You know what I mean?
Can you touch on
Um,
that? Can you touch on that for a second? Because I think that's an important part about ultra running that a lot of people don't understand. When
yeah,
you're running a marathon, or a half marathon or a
it's a lot
5K,
more going
10K,
on.
there's
Yeah.
a lot going on. There's a lot of people, there's music, there's bands, there's, people cheering, and you're kind of always engaged. And I don't run with music. I never do. Just
Hmm.
something that I just kind of, I don't listen to anything when I drive in the car. That's my time to have my thoughts.
All
But
right.
with ultra running, and I'm so glad you said this, you're out there alone
Yeah.
and you're just with your thoughts. And that it's a little weird, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
speak to that, like how that kind of like transforms you, and then how like how it brings you up and
Yeah.
how it might bring you down. To me, you hear people saying running a 100-mile race, you can kind of like go through 10 years of your life in 24 hours. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, for me it's like it's definitely a weird feeling and a thought, like just to be um alone, just moving and only just like hearing your feet, and I guess your thoughts are just like racing, or sometimes your thoughts just are like almost nothing. You're just
Yeah,
like running.
yeah,
It's super therapeutic, and it can be a little intimidating to like have that be like, oh, like a lot of people, how did you do that? But it's just your thoughts, like eventually your thoughts kind of slow down a lot. Like it's like meditation in a way. Like you kind of
mhm,
especially the more challenging like the race gets, the longer the day goes on, eventually you're just kind of like, you're like boiled down to like pure, like not trying to be dramatic, but you're just pure like, how do I make this happen? You're not like thinking about like, did you leave the stove open? Like that's in the beginning of the race. Did you leave the stove? You know, and like that's like the
Yeah.
beginning. It's like you're thinking about like, oh man, who's doing what? Oh, blah, blah, what they're doing, you know, and then eventually you're just like, all right, how far is the next aid station? You know, like how many, you know, can I take this gel? You know, like you're really just thinking about like you're so present. It really knocks you down into like, you know, maybe think about the finish line here and there, and you got to remind yourself to just to be as present as possible. And that's like the most present you'll feel because there's no one to pull you out of it. You really have your time to like manage your thoughts and go, like, okay, let's not be there, let's be here, and forget what just happened. Like you're doing a lot of like negotiating with yourself and like conversations with yourself. That I think is really beautiful, and I think that like we don't really get a chance to do that very often because even you driving in the car, it's still, you know, it's still short. Like it's still like enough time to there's a lot of time to think, but then there's not too much time to wear yourself down where you stop thinking, you know? Like
Yeah.
that's a unique experience for sure.
I think people need more of that, especially in this day and age where everyone's like,
Yeah.
they got their phone
Just
24/7. They're
going,
always
going,
connected.
going.
They're always
Yeah.
engaged. It's just like it never ends, and it kind of ends like right before you go to bed. You
Yeah.
close IG or TikTok right, and they put your phone down on the
Yeah.
nightstand, and that's it. Lights out.
Yeah.
I think that that was man, that was really one of the pivotal parts of just being out there
Yeah.
10 p.m. And I was only out there for a short window compared to you,
Yeah.
but 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And like at one point it was just silent. At one point I was thinking, I'm like, and there's animals out here,
Yes.
like mountain lions,
Bear.
all
I was
kinds
thinking
of,
about bear though. I was thinking about bear the whole time.
yeah. I'm like, man, and I was just like, okay. And so I can't like check out completely because I got to be cognizant
Yeah. And
of,
you gotta watch out for the ground, you know.
yeah, and you got, and then there were some big downhills, and I was like, man, this is like, you kind of got to be locked in from that standpoint. But yeah, you're just alone with your thoughts out there for a while, and you just hear your feet scuffing. And man, and I was in that, and I was also worried about another human being. For
Yep.
me, I was
Yep.
worried about him. I kept checking on him, make sure he was still moving, things like that. But it is therapeutic. Like you said, it was kind of like meditation. And that's one
Hmm.
of the things I love when I go for runs, when I go for trail runs. Once again, even if it's training run, even if I go on a road run, no music. I just kind of like to go. I do jujitsu, and that's another thing where I don't have my
Uh-huh.
phone. You're just on the mat, you're rolling around, and you got to just focus on who's in front of you right now and what you got to do.
Yep.
And you're just not, because even when I go to the gym to lift, I'm like, every
Yeah, your
between sets, I'm
phone
like,
in between every reps. Yeah.
yeah,
Music. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it's different. So, but running, jujitsu, things like that. I'm swimming, training for the Ironman now. That's another thing. No phone. You're just in the water. You just
Yeah.
almost get that sound deprivation being in the water. So I think those things are really important for mental health, especially in today's
Hmm.
day and age where we're so connected all the time and there's so much noise.
Right.
So I think that's really good. So what's next for you, man? I want to end on this. What is next for you? You just did Western States 100.
Yeah.
I mean, and kind of like you kind of went backwards into it. You started with a 340, and now like most people start with
Yeah.
a half marathon,
Maybe I'll
marathon.
do a mile. Maybe I'll do a mile now. You know.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So I don't know what's next. Like people are asking me what's next because people have watched my journey, so they're thinking that I'm what's nexting. You know. And
Yeah.
I'm really not. Like I'm just like the opportunity comes if it looks like it's a valuable experience or like a moment that will inspire myself to push more,
Yeah.
and then maybe inspire somebody else, and that's like the the decision making factor. Um, yeah. So like people ask me before Western, like the weekend of like Thursday before Western, like what are you gonna do after this? And I'm like,
I get through this
I don't
first.
know. And I literally had nothing on the calendar until after, like I didn't have anything. Normally I'm like looking for like, okay, what's next? You know, like what, because that's my job too. So it's like, okay, what can I do? What's out there? And I didn't even think about nothing. I didn't reach for nothing. I didn't pitch anything. I just
Mhm.
wanted this to happen. It happened. And I'm actually just got offered a spot to run Berlin again.
Oh,
Berlin
nice,
Marathon. So I'm
nice.
most likely gonna take that opportunity. And I think it's only like it's like 2 months away. So it's not much I can, I'm not, it's not much I can do to like get like peak fitness worthy, but
Yeah.
I'd love to. I'm not looking forward to marathon training again because it's just a different vibe. But I think once I get back moving and jump into marathon training, I think it could be fun to see like what that mental thing that I learned out there can maybe help in a marathon. So we'll see. But when it comes to like something like bigger or crazier or something like that, I don't know. I'd love to. I don't think I want to run UTMB yet. I've been there before. I've seen it before. I'd
Mhm.
love to go back to see and witness and be a part of that community again. Just be out there and kind of spectate and watch those crazy people take on that like wild mountain.
Crazy. Crazy.
Um, and until like I don't know, I'm okay with like not knowing a little bit. For now, and just kind of see what comes.
You've heard of Marathon des Sables?
I have, but I'm not super familiar with what it is.
It's like, I don't know how much, like a couple hundred K through the desert over a 7-day period.
Okay, yeah,
They say
yeah,
it's the
no, yeah,
hardest race on earth.
I'm okay.
And I was looking at that. I just kind of, I caught a YouTube video,
Yeah.
which is bad. And then I started going down the rabbit hole and I'm thinking, man, this could be, just because I'm the kind of person that I always like to have something on the calendar
Hmm.
that I'm actually training for, because otherwise I'll get into a little bit of a lull. So I
Hmm.
kind of always want to have a competition or some kind of, even if it's a little local sprint triathlon, just a little something that I know is coming up. And
Yep.
I'm obviously gonna now having been there and seen the experience and seeing how awesome it was, I want to try to get into Western states. It could take a
Yeah,
decade,
yeah,
but
yeah.
now once you
You got to
go
do
there, and
it.
I recommend anyone, I don't care who you are, I don't care what level of running you're at, go to
Hmm.
Western states to watch. Who knows? You might end up crewing like I did, but or pacing like I did, but just go there because it was an incredible experience. And if you can go a little bit early and catch TrailCon and then
Yeah,
experience Western states, it was
it's a
phenomenal.
vibe.
Now,
It's a
I had
vibe
no
for sure.
desire to run that race prior to going, and then after
Yeah,
going there and seeing all that and meeting with all the people, I was like, man, I want to do this race. This is something. This will change your life.
yeah,
Um, but and I like to always have something on the calendar for my own mental, I guess, like having a goal in mind. Um, I know we talked about some other things like high rocks and other things
yeah. I'm
out there. Have you
okay.
ever thought about getting into
Nah,
anything like that?
nah. I haven't thought about high rocks. Triathlon. I can watch from afar. Um, I don't want to do any backyard ultras. I don't believe. I don't definitely don't want to do like Barclays or whatever.
Oh my
Have
god.
no desire. I don't necessarily want to do anything that's like the hardest thing on in the planet. Like I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just see like I'll see what like journeys, like that seems like something that I can get excited about. Will come along and then we'll just see. We'll see. Maybe like comrades or something like that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Awesome. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Man, I can't thank you enough. To share not only your past and to share some of the lessons which I think are going to help a lot of people who were going through what you were going through. And I appreciate you
Hmm.
being,
Oh,
really authentic about that. And then also now going through your race experience. And that's also a huge part of what I think people want to know and want to hear, that, you can
yeah.
do hard stuff like this, and it's going to change you. You're not going to do things
Yes.
like this and not come out a different person on the other side. Like you said, you're still kind of going through what you went through from Western states. So I think you doing stuff like this changes who you are as a person for the rest of your life, and then you just
Yeah.
continue to grow from there. So I
Uh,
appreciate you sharing all that, man. And man, I'm find discovering you. I don't know how when I first started finding out about you and seeing your journey and watching along the way, man, I got to tell you, this is like, what an incredible story. And I know
oh,
it's going to
thank you,
only
man.
just grow and impact more people from here on. So I'm excited to continue to watch that. And I'm sure, hopefully, one day we'll see each other out there. We
Yeah, for
met
sure.
briefly after Western States, but uh,
Small world.
yeah, yeah, we're on the same plane. And,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you for all that you're doing for the community and the attention that you're bringing to the sport, and also bringing people like you said who look like us into the sport, and being
Yeah.
being someone that they can follow and they can emulate. So thank you for all that. Where do you want people to find you? Because we're going to throw all the links below.
Hmm.
And um, where do you want to drive people to? Where do you want people to connect with you? IG, YouTube. Where can people
Yeah.
follow this
Um,
journey?
yeah, I would say people check me out on Instagram, at TOMMIE_RUNZ. Check me out on Instagram. Everything that I do revolves around that world. So if it's a YouTube video that's out, I'm gonna post it there too, or at least post a link there. So just that's the easy spot to go to. If you know folks that out there that want to support like the Black Skin Looks Good on Trail movement, and make it and help me make that statement even louder, obviously you can go to my, my Instagram. My link is there to go to my website and order those shirts. So yeah, everything's right there.
Amazing. Amazing, man. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
your
you, man.
time
Thank you.
today. I appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you out there.
100%, bro. See you guys out there soon.
All right, man. Thank you so much.